guys, my name is Maddie or Books with Maddie, and today we're going through my December wrap-up. Today we're going through all of the books that I read in December. I apologize for the atrocious lighting, I am aware of it. I am just in a very dark and gloomy place right now. Not mentally, maybe mentally, I just meant I don't know why you would assume it was mentally. I just meant physically, where I am right now is literally the clouds are out. Whew, okay. So, today I'm talking about the books I read in December. You know what I might try to do, and this is super random, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I think I'm gonna try to do this speech jammed. I want to try to wrap up December's books while I have a speech jammer on. Is that a good idea? Absolutely not. Super terrible idea. I don't even know if this is gonna work. I feel like I'm gonna be fairly good at this, and I know that's kind of oh, she thinks she's gonna be. I think I'm actually gonna be. I practiced one time and I was actually not that bad. I sounded a little weird, but it wasn't I was repeating myself. You know what a speech jammer is? It's where you put in headphones and it delays your voice just a tiny bit, so you're hearing yourself played back at you, and it's very confusing, and you can't speak normally when it's happening. That's what I'm gonna try to. So I'm gonna try to do that and explain to you the books that I read in December. I'm not gonna start right now. I think I'm gonna tell you my overview, and then I'll start when I do a synopsis, which by the way, I have not written down any semblance of you know how sometimes I do notes and I do I wrote down in advance a 2-sentence synopsis because I can't give a synopsis even when I don't have speech, even when I'm not speech jammed. I can't even talk like a normal person when I'm not speech jammed. So I always write down what I'm gonna say. Have not done that today. I just didn't feel like it. So all we have to go off of right now is that I read 12 books this month. I read 0 1-star books, 1 2-star book, 6 3-star books, 2 4-star books, and 3 5-star books. I'm going to try to explain to you each of these books in 2 to 3 sentences while being speech jammed, and then explain to you why I did or didn't like them. I'm gonna get my earbuds and we're gonna see how this goes. Okay, so I'm not being speech jammed yet, don't worry. I am going to have these earbuds in. I'm going to then press play on this speech jammer website, which I will link below in case you also want to be speech jammed. And then I'm gonna start explaining to you the first book, which I will preface with is I just can't speak. The first book I'm explaining to you is going to be Inland by Tia Oprah, which is my first 2-star book. This is one of the most insane books I've ever read. Didn't understand what's going on. So what I'm saying to you, it'll sound weird for multiple reasons. 1, because I'm being speech jammed, and 2, because this was just a strange book. Okay, I am being speech jammed currently. So far, I feel like I sound pretty normal. I'm going to turn the delay down a little bit because I feel like this is just totally normal. Okay, this is a little weird now. So Inland by Tia Oprah. This is a Western. I feel like I'm being normal. Okay, I'm gonna turn the volume up so I can't hear my regular voice. Okay. That's very loud. So the first book I'm gonna be talking to you about is Inland by Tia Oprah. This is a Western / historical fiction. There's some magical realism aspects to it. Am I talking weird? I can't tell. Okay, there are 2 narrators in this story, and Nora and Lurie is the other one, and Nora is on her house farm area and she's trying to take care of her family. Lurie is traveling. He is running away from the sheriff who is trying to kill him. His narrative is written in second person, and the second person who he is speaking to is a camel named Burke. I feel like I'm talking normally. Okay. And it basically just follows their stories and what's going on in their life. I really didn't understand what was happening most of the time. I listened to it as an audiobook, hence why I'm not holding it up. I'm gonna try to change the delay so that maybe it's a little worse. So yeah, maybe the reason I didn't enjoy it is really loud on my ears. Okay. Maybe the reason I didn't enjoy it is much because of the... I can't think. Because I listened to it on an audiobook. That could have been the reason why I didn't like it as much. Don't remember if there's any other thoughts I'm supposed to say. Okay, I found the right setting. This is a sweet spot right here. Moving on to 3 stars now. We're gonna talk about Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. I don't know why I have an accent now, but I do. Okay, so this is a graphic novel actually that I read. I feel like I close my eyes. That's easier for some reason to talk when my eyes are closed. Okay, this is a graphic novel. I read it for my gender and sexuality and literature course. It is an autobiography kind of situation, a memoir, and it follows Alison Bechdel and her family, the tragic loss of her, I was gonna say husband, but I meant to say father, who committed suicide. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't really find it very groundbreaking or anything. Did I say groundbreaking? I meant to say groundbreaking or anything. I know there's also a musical. I feel like this was a strange choice of literature to choose to make into a musical, but I'm interested in listening to it now. It just kind of follows her relationship with her father, her family, and coming out as lesbian. She's also the woman who came up with the Bechdel system, which you can use in books to see if there is, if there's any situation where 2 women are talking to each other and the subject of the conversation is not a man, and that's the Bechdel test. And she made that. Oh, next is an arc. It is Ruin Song by, I don't have the author's name written down. I think the name of the author is Julia Burns. Julia Ember. I was close. This is so loud in my ears. I wonder if you can hear it. Will that be a problem? No. Ruin Song is a book. It's a fantasy. It's a sapphic book. It's a retelling of Phantom of the Opera. And there's 2 characters. There's Cadence and there is Remy. And Cadence is the singer, and the music in this world is like magic. So she can heal people. She can hurt people with her voice. And she's this very powerful singer. I feel like I'm getting really good at this speech grammar thing. Okay, so she immediately loses ability to think and speak. She's a singer for the queen, and the queen is evil, and she uses this woman, Cadence, to carry out her evil will. And then Remy is a childhood friend of Cadence, and they reconnect under kind of dire situations. And Remy kind of convinces Cadence to stand up to the queen, and they end up falling in love. I just told you the plot of the book, really, not even just the synopsis. This is so loud. I'm gonna have hearing damage after this. Let me make sure it's not ruining the audio that you can hear this as well. So, update. I'm not in speech right now, but I just listened to part of that. I thought I was talking like a normal person, but I was talking like an Italian or something. I don't know how much longer I'm able to do this, because now that I know what I sound like, I don't know if I can continue. Wow, I genuinely thought I was talking like a normal person. That's very embarrassing. Okay, I'm going to talk about Stay Gold by Toby McSmith next. Maybe I'm going to take a quick break for my brain's sake. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm still being speech jammed. This book follows 2 characters, Pony and Georgia, and they go to this Texas high school. Pony is a new student, and he is transgender, but he wants to keep that kind of on the DL, because it was a huge deal in his last school when people knew, he would get bullied. He doesn't want people to know that he's trans, and he's really happy that he's passing, and he meets this girl, Georgia, who he really likes, and she really likes him, and it kind of follows his journey of self-acceptance and his family's acceptance, and there's romance aspects, and it's just very good. I think I only gave it 3 stars. There were a couple of things that I was a little iffy about. Reading something like this against, studying sexuality and gender at an academic level is difficult, because this is coming at it from a very personal perspective. This was written by a trans author, and so I think it's very reflective of possibly the experience and beliefs of the author. But there were a couple things that I did not agree with in this book, and I actually talked to some trans individuals about some of the aspects of this book that I was a little bit questionable on, because I don't have the ultimate authority on what isn't harmful to trans people, and they agreed with me a little bit. And it wasn't necessarily harmful, it was just kind of questionable. It was very like one-sided perspective. It was almost like the author was pushing a perspective that was a choice, but they were saying this is the only right choice. I know that was kind of vague, but also what I'm referring to is a bit of a spoiler. So if you wanted me to go a little bit more in depth on that, I can. But overall, I don't think that this book was harmful in any way. It's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that there were a couple things in here that were a little bit questionable that I had some iffy feelings on. Okay, I'm gonna do one more normally, and then I'm gonna go back to being speech jammed. So the next one I'll talk about is Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg, which I read for my gender and sexuality and literature course. This actually takes place where I live, so in the city that I live in, and so it was very interesting to read. It follows a character named Jess. This took place in like the 1960s and 1970s around Stonewall, and the main character Jess is going through kind of like body dysmorphia. From a young age, the main character Jess is kind of uncomfortable in her body. She is born a girl and identifies as a woman, a lesbian, a butch lesbian. As she grows up, she joins this community of butches and femmes, so that is where she finds her partners and her friends. And I actually will admit that I didn't finish this book, and the reason is I ran out of time. So I didn't read this during the class that I was supposed to read it for, because I had some other stuff going on that week, that like some personal issues that was going on that week, and so I didn't actually have time to finish the book during that week, unfortunately. And so I tried to read it by the end of the year because it's actually very interesting and I wanted to finish it, and I was like, very close to finishing it. I was like 80% of the way through. I just counted it as being finished because it's the same as like when people DNF a book like 80% of the way through, they still count it as finished because, you know, that's like quite a significant amount of the book that you've read. So I will finish it at some point, but I don't know where it ended. I know that I believe Leslie Feinberg used the pronouns Z and Zir. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing those wrong. But I used she and her pronouns because up until the point that I got in the book, those are the pronouns she was using. So if you finish the book and there are different pronouns at the end, I apologize, but up until the point that I was reading, it was still she and her pronouns. I gave it 3 stars. Obviously, I didn't finish it, so I don't have a complete understanding of the book. And it's hard to judge books like this that are like, this was not autobiographical, but it was close. We learned a little bit about Leslie Feinberg in class, and a lot of the story of Jess was similar to Leslie Feinberg's experience. So it was hard to judge this book. When writing this, it was very difficult to rate because the writing style for me, I didn't click with it. And that was my main issue with it. The story itself was incredibly interesting and incredibly important, but I could not click with the writing style at all, and that was the main issue for me. And I really didn't want to rush this book as much as I was, so I think I felt good about not finishing it and being able to come back to it because this is a very important story and I don't want to rush it. Okay, I'm gonna go back to being speech jammed at this point because I think it's kind of funny. Okay, I'm back to being speech jammed. Okay, so the next book I'm going to talk about is still in 3 stars category. It is Our Stories, Our Voices. This is an anthology that is kind of collected together by Amy Reed. And it is a group. Oh, let me get it to look at. This is the book. The full title is Our Stories, Our Voices, 21 YA authors go real about injustice, empowerment, and growing up female in America. Sorry, I said it like that. Some of the authors that are on this are Amy Reed, Brandy Colbert, Maureen Gu, Nina LaCour, Anna Marie Meckel-Moore, Sandhya Menon, Aisha Saeed. So really well-known YA authors, and I really enjoyed a lot of these stories. They talked about, I feel like this is kind of a serious book that I shouldn't be talking about while being speech jammed. So sorry about that. Should I stop being speech jammed? This isn't that serious, to be honest. Okay, I mean, there were very moving stories in here. I have heard a lot about, which one was it? I believe it was the story by Ellen Hopkins. An Accidental Activist by Ellen Hopkins was like a pretty harmful story, by the way. I had mixed opinions on this. There's never going to be like an anthology or short story collection that I will probably give 5 stars because you're not going to enjoy every single one, you know what I mean, when you're getting such a wide selection. My other problem with this book was there was no trans representation at all. And I was like, what the heck? This isn't an accurate sample of women in America. So, that was another problem I had with this book. Overall, most of the stories were very good. I don't know how much I would recommend this book. Some of them are very good. It was very, like, intro-level feminism. A lot of them just continually said the same thing. It was published right around the time when Trump, I feel like, okay, I'm not doing the speech jam because I actually feel like this is a serious conversation. So a lot of these were published around the time that Trump became president, so a lot of them were focused on the 2016 election, which was powerful for the time, and I feel like it is easy for it to become outdated now. So that was another problem that I had, which was a lot of people were just talking about the 2016 election, and like obviously that is a very powerful narrative, but it became very repetitive very quickly, and it was easy for this to now become outdated with, you know, that election being over now, obviously. So yeah, I had mixed feelings about this. There were a couple really, really powerful in here, essays in here, but overall it was just kind of 3 stars for me. Okay, I'm being speech jammed again. The next one is an audiobook called The Paris Hours, and it is written by Alex George. This is a historical fiction that takes place in the 1920s, mostly in Paris, hence the name The Paris Hours. There were 4 narratives. One was Soren, who is an Armenian refugee. Second was Guillaume, who was an artist and he was in debt. He was trying to repay his debt. He was in some trouble. Next, Jean-Paul is a journalist and he wants to tell other people's stories. Lastly, there was one woman narrator named Camille, and she was the maid of Marcel Proust. Goodness, that was a hard last name to say for some reason. And I felt like her narrative was so not well done. She was portrayed as a maid and a housewife the entire time, which was, yes, her story, but I'm sure there was a lot more, like, interesting aspects to her besides her relation to the men around her. And she also, the author put her into a I'm not like other girls trope, which I just totally hated. So the writing was actually very good, but that one aspect just really bothered me. Also, like, the selling point for me for this book was that this was supposed to be told over the single course of a day in 1927, but it was kind of cheapened because the author would take chapters and just have them take place in the past. So technically, I guess you're correct, the main narrative took place in one day, but yeah, you just like went to the back to prevent that from actually being the truth. So that's how I feel. Okay, next we're gonna talk about A Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh. I don't know if this is actually confirmed a Mulan retelling, but it kind of seems that way. The main character, Mariko, she gets attacked by this group of people when she is traveling to a place where she is supposed to be married. She's in this like arranged marriage situation, but she doesn't want to marry the other guy. While she's traveling to be married, she gets attacked. Her entire troop of people who were with her gets killed. She escapes, but not before hearing from this group of people that they were sent to kill her specifically. She escapes, she goes into the woods, she decides instead of going home, she's going to cut her hair and pretend to be a man and try to infiltrate the Black Clan, which is the people who she thinks is trying to kill her, so she can find out why they're trying to kill her. So she's disguised as a peasant boy trying to survive, but in reality, she's a woman and she's actually the coolest person ever. In addition, her brother is searching for her, so she has to also avoid her brother finding her. I didn't totally understand why she didn't just go home and have other people help her find out why she was trying to be killed. Didn't really understand that point. There were a couple other points like that in the book where I was like, what was really the point of this? I feel like it was kind of underdeveloped, but overall I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Excited to pick up the second book, although I've heard it's not as good. She also falls in love in that book. I forgot that aspect. She gets a little busy with one of the people in the black clan. Not a spoiler, it says that on the back of the book. Next, we're going to talk about Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a pandemic book. It takes place during a pandemic, or after a pandemic. It switches narratives between when a pandemic is happening and after the pandemic. It follows a bunch of different characters. It was really interesting. I went into it blind, and I really enjoyed that. So I don't want to give too much away about what happens in this book, or even, you know, the grounding foundation of this book. It was very interesting to read against a pandemic that is happening currently, but also there were a lot of differences between the pandemic in this book and the one that is actually currently happening in our world. Am I just gonna sound dumb this whole time being speech jammed and it's not even gonna be funny? It's just gonna be annoying? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I think that's all I'm gonna say about this boy. It was pretty good, 4 stars. Writing was very, very good, but there were a couple slow parts for me. This was like a really anticipated book. I know people who like would die for this book. It's their favorite book ever. I just didn't really feel the same way, but I could see why somebody really enjoyed it. Next, we're going to talk about this one very quickly because I also read that this was a reread. This is Dear Ejioela, or a feminist manifesto and 15 suggestions. This is by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and it's just a little letter written to her friend about how to raise a feminist. I read this for my feminist theory class. It was very good, although I have some questionable opinions about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie herself. But other than that, this was a very enlightening book. Okay, I'm going to finish explaining the last couple without being speech jammed because I'm running out of room on my phone. Next, I'm not going to talk too much about this one. I just filmed the video, most surprising and disappointing books of last year. This was one of my most surprising reads. So if you want more details on this book, check that video out. But this is Sensuous Knowledge by Mina Salami. This is a book about black feminism that I also read for my feminist theory class. It was absolutely excellent, and I really highly recommend you read it. It was incredible, and I talk about it a lot more in my previous video, so go check that one out. And then lastly, I talk about this book in my favorite books of 2020, so I won't go in depth about this one either, but that is Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo, which is basically just a little short story collection. It takes place in the Grishaverse, and it's by Leigh Bardugo, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, I'm gonna do my intro speech jammed. Outro. Goodness gracious, I can't even speak. Okay. Goodness, it scares me every time. So, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if this was, like, not entertaining, but just actually really annoying. Sorry about that. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below some books that you read in December. Like I've been saying, up until the end of this week, Saturday, I will be uploading every single day. So keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great life. I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.